Welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, the podcast that isn't getting carried away just because Stevie G's here and we won 6-0 on Friday night. This week on Heart and Hand, it's coming home, it's coming home, it's coming. League flags. Coming home. Everyone, and welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. As we kick off, I cannot believe I'm saying this, our 9th season of bringing you informed chat about Rangers and a lot of men flirting. Joining me to kick off this season are two of my most beloved podders. First of all, from Florida, the wonderful and it turns out slightly sunburnt Mr. Ian Hogg.
Good morning and good afternoon, David. 9 seasons, eh? Exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's doesn't time fly when you've been kicked to the 3rd division and spiv raped, but we're not there now. We're in happier times. And to reflect this is the most positive of all the podders, and he's allowed to be at this time of the season. It's Mr. Alex Staff.
Hello, gentlemen. 9 seasons is unreal. I kind of thought I would maybe come in and just fuck up for you halfway through last season, but somehow you've managed to survive that, so I think anything's good from now on.
Yeah, I think it was said brilliantly at one of the live shows when somebody said, Alex has only been on the show for about half a year. I said, yeah. He went, it feels like longer. And I think he meant it as a compliment, but I'm not sure that...
No, I'm not so sure either.
I'm not sure that you could take it that way. Right, lads, well, only one place to start. We're back, of course, because the football has started back when Rangers beat Bury by 6-0 in a friendly on Friday night. And a very fun night it was too. Thoroughly enjoyed going out to Ibrox for it. But let's rewind slightly. Now, we spoke at the end of last season about the arrival of Steven Gerrard, so first impressions then of him as a manager. Hoggy, how do you feel he's done this pre-season in terms of his signings, which we'll go through individually in a minute, his manner and just conduct in general?
Well, let's do manner and conduct first, David. He strikes me, despite his, let's face it, inexperience as an actual manager, he's just professional. That is just how he comes across, as sheer and absolute professionalism. And let's face it, that's what we've been missing. And it's been quite a welcome return for us as fans, and it's seriously good for the club. I think the backroom team that he's brought proven to be excellent already, in my humble opinion. It's almost as if he's chosen a backroom team that is to almost augment his current deficiencies, if you like, with McAllister and Michael Beale and etc. Just so the whole feeling around Steven Gerrard and his backroom team and the way he started, the way he talks. I'm usually one of the more cynical chaps in the pod, but I think I've boarded the Gerrard Express, and I may be as optimistic as Alex right now.
Let's not go nuts here. Alex, Hoggy alluded to there the professionalism, which has been missing. I don't think anyone would say that, but a lot of the players have said that the pre-season was one of the toughest they'd ever faced. It was a different level to what they'd experienced at Rangers, but also at other clubs as well. But they were all raving about it, that the quality of training, etc. was excellent, the variation of the training was excellent. And this is something we've spoken about on some of our Patreon shows, $1.99 per month if anyone's listening. And it does feel like this coaching team, and I mean the whole team, is a level above what Rangers have had for a number of years.
It does, yeah. These are guys who are working at the top end in English football for a long time. It's not like they've been, flung together like just pals of Gerrard or something like that. This is, everybody's proven in what they want to do in their field, and they all seem to have very specific roles. If you were to, and I don't, this sounds kind of offensive, I don't mean it this way. Back when Walter Smith was there with McCoist, McDowell, Durant, if you were to ask those guys, what is it exactly you're doing? I don't think you'd have got as defined answers as you're getting from Beale and Colshaw and Milsom and the rest. They all seem to have very, very defined areas that they're taking up, as opposed to, just being part of a coaching group who are waiting on their manager telling them what to do. So, yeah, it's very professional looking sounding. It's what we've been looking for nigh on 20 years now, if we're honest. We've been kind of hoping for someone to come in and whip us this way. The proof's about to come on the park, I suppose, but all very, very good.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I thought when Warburton arrived was that he's our first 21st century manager, and I still think he was because of his ideas. Now, whether or not those ideas were right for Scottish football, whether or not he could implement them, I think is much more the case. But he was at least someone who was looking to the future. Pedro, possibly, say it's hard really to judge Pedro, and the more we hear about it, the more it does appear that this was a very good salesman, but there wasn't really a lot of depth to his plans, shall we put it politely and say that. Whereas Gerrard has arrived, Ian, and as we say, you look at that coaching team now. I don't say this lightly, but that's not a coaching team that we can get access to, if that makes sense. And to explain that, these guys are not desperate to go and work for Rangers. They've come to work for Steven Gerrard, and they would follow him wherever he chose to go to. But I think had Rangers appointed someone else and said, we want Jordan Milsom to come from Liverpool, or we want Michael Beale, we wouldn't have been able to get them. These are top 4 clubs in England guys, and as Alex has said, that's where they had been working. It's a massive coup, and I think possibly something we're underestimating is that, yes, we have this manager who's very much a heroic figure and very much a sort of inspirational figure that the fans gravitate to, but that coaching team is genuinely a top 4 Premiership coaching team, and we have somehow managed to get them on board.
It's a massive step up, David, in terms of where we've been. Let's just look, and this is absolutely no disrespect to the guys I'm going to name, but post Pedro, because let's face it, Pedro was just a fucking estate agent basically. But post Pedro, we had Graham Murty for a spell, and in came Jimmy Nicholl and Jonathan Johansson. Jimmy Nicholl taken from Falkirk, and I don't even know where Jonathan Johansson was before that. We have now, and this is, let's not kid ourselves on, this is solely because we've managed to snare Steven Gerrard, because Steven Gerrard's team is his team, and they would have followed him wherever he went, be it the UK or beyond. The guys that he's brought in, if we look at a guy like Michael Beale, he's probably the guy that excites me the most out of that backroom team, to be honest, David, as first team coach. You look at his track record as a coach, and he decided, when he wasn't making it as a football player, he decided he was going to be a coach, and he went through a whole heap of jobs early, including roles at Wimbledon and all the rest of it. He went to Chelsea and had a variety of roles. He went to Liverpool, had a variety of roles. He went to become the assistant manager at Sao Paulo in Brazil, which seems odd, but it's just simply an extension of the experience that he wants to get. Back to Liverpool and on to Rangers. Steven Gerrard has built a team around him. It's quite clear that they've had discussions around wherever they end up, this is what they want to do, and it's at Rangers. I don't think it's not a stretch. I don't think it's a stretch to say if Gerrard's not there, we don't get these guys, because I just don't think we do. It's super. It really is super exciting. Just that whole package around Steven Gerrard and his team. Just professionalism's gone up, as we talked about. The pre-season training, as yourself and Alex have spoken about, has clearly been the hardest for the players that they've probably ever had. The game against Bury, there was a side actually hitting the ground running, and I get that it's only Bury and they're in the pre-season as well, but we actually looked as if the players knew what the hell they were doing, and even just simple things like that's night and day to where we were even 4 months ago.
And you can have the best coaching team in the world assembled, but if you don't have decent players, it's going to be a struggle. So to the more important, I suppose, or the most important aspect of the summer, which is recruitment, and the opposite of that, of course, putting people out the door. It should be stressed at this point, Alex, that we are not anywhere near finished the transfer window. There's a long time to go in it yet. But what are your views on the early transfer activity?
I think the early transfer activity has actually been really good. One thing that I always look for when it comes to transfers is some sort of plan, just something that indicates that, okay, we're going to miss out on targets. That's just how it goes. It happens to every single club. But when you move on to that second option, that it's not something where you go, well, why were you looking at that guy if you're going to move on to him? And we seem to be a lot better at that at the moment, where if we don't get the first guy that we go for, the next one that we look at seems to have very similar characteristics and can be identified in a similar sort of vein. So we've got a lot of that going on. Obviously, McGregor and Arfield and Murphy were pretty much done before Gerrard was approached or announced. He's going to get loads out of them. He'll use them constantly. They won't be sidelined because he didn't sign them. Let's put it that way. But since then, I think there's been a very clear pattern. Every signing's been under 25. They've had physical attributes that we've certainly lacked in the past couple of seasons. They all seem to be... One thing I've noticed with all of them, and even the ones that were still seeing a defensive sense, they are all really, really good 1v1. They're all really good. They're all difficult to get past. If you think about the guys we've got like Flanagan, Goldson, Katic, when you look at their clips from before when they played, they're really difficult to beat in a 1v1 situation, and that says quite a bit about what he's looking for. So I've been very impressed by it. Mainly, I know there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know how these guys are going to do when it comes to the crunch. We know that. There's absolutely no denying that. It's about waiting. Even the most established player can struggle at Rangers, but to see the plan, to see the quite obvious aims that we've got with our signings, suggests to me that it's going, we're doing well with that. It then needs that bit of luck afterwards. If that happens or not, we'll find out. But at least it doesn't seem like a scattergun approach of, oh, there's that guy who was once shit hot at Spurs and hasn't played a game in years. I'll get him in case he gets shit hot again, and I'll put him next to this old guy who doesn't really seem to care about Scottish football, but I'll bring him in. It felt, even under Warburton, a manager that I liked and thought had a decent plan, when he got into the top league, his approach became very, very erratic, but we seem to have moved away from that.
Yeah, it was very scattergun, and you're absolutely right. I understand why it's tempting when you don't have a lot of money and somebody glamorous in terms of name floats past you. It must be human nature to go, oh, we can get him, wow. There's a reason usually, and we've been burnt with it so often the last few years, unfortunately, that I'm all for trying something different. And I'm impressed because we do have some experienced players. I think Hoggy, if you're our age and you grew up kind of soonest era, one of the things that was hammered in by the great man himself into us was you build from the back, you start from the back. If you don't have the back door locked, doesn't matter what else you're doing, you're not going to get anywhere. And we grew up with that, and the Rangers teams that soonest built, and then after that, you had your Butcher, Roberts, Gough, Chris Woods, Andy Gorham, John Brown. It was always about that solid backline. And the manager clearly, when you look at where the money's been spent so far, 3 million on Goldson, 2 million on Katic, John Flanagan's been brought in, Alan McGregor, who I think is a huge signing, not just for his goalkeeping ability. I happen to think he's a better goalkeeper than Wes Foderingham, but he's also a leader. You can see that clearly has been a priority for him.
Yeah, growing up, as you say, through Souness and then Walter Smith, it was always about build a spine. It's the first thing Souness did when he came in. When he brought in effectively a great goalkeeper, a great centre half, you had Souness himself in the middle of the park, and one of the deficient areas that we had was clearly in that kind of central defence and just the defence as a whole, as a unit. I don't think the goalkeeper was good enough. I think he was good on his day, but was a wee bit erratic in Fotheringham. So he's brought in McGregor, who was with us previously. He was a Premiership goalkeeper and last year a Championship goalkeeper. He's brought in Goldson, a Premiership defender, and Katic from the Croatian top league. He's also brought in John Flanagan. Personal issues aside, and my personal feelings on that aside, because I think I've covered that in other pods, David, John Flanagan is a former Premiership defender. And then you look at Scott Arfield, Premiership midfielder, Jamie Murphy, Premiership winger or attacker. There's a clear plan. There's a clear plan to A, build a spine, and B, plug the deficiencies. It feels as if we're building a first team. It feels as if we're building a squad of greater quality. I think if you then offset that against the players who have gone out, you look at the guys that have gone out, Kenny Miller, enough said. David Bates, I think, would probably all like to have kept, but wouldn't have been first choice, and fair enough, he's gone to Hamburg. Jordan Thompson's gone, Liam Kelly's gone, Michael O'Halloran, I can hear Scott.
Hooray!
You look at the guys that have gone out on loan, Carlos Pena, Joe Dodu, Jason Holt, Ryan Hardy. None of those guys are getting a sniff of first team games, let's face it. All we're doing is plugging the deficiencies with quality and upgrading the rest of the squad. I guess there'll be a hope then, David, that the guys that are retained, and currently that includes the likes of, Andy Halliday and co, can they all improve through coaching and training to bring them up a level? And it's a different time and a different age, and again, and the players won't be quite as good as soon as brought in. But it's a similar concept as we had, 32 years ago, when Souness came in. He signed about 5 players, and the rest of the squad were basically challenged to step themselves up in class, and they rose to the challenge. So I've got no doubts Gerrard will be trying to do that.
You and I watched, for one of our Patreon shows, we watched the 1986 League Cup final, and I think a lot of us, and I was one of them, forgot Ali Dawson was at centre half that day. Cammy Fraser played in midfield. You're right, it's not realistic, Alex, to expect 11 new players. It's highly unlikely as well, but some of the players who were there previously are going to have to be retained. It's simple economics. And I would go to an even closer example to that. There were a lot of players at Celtic under Dyla that had been written off by everyone, including us, but with a decent coach and better players around them. And I can't stress enough, that's important. That's the key thing. A coach can only do so much, but having better players around them, and they didn't have quite so much responsibility. But that has to be an aim as well. We can't buy a brand new team straight out of the box and expect it to gel. Some of these guys are going to have to be retained and deliver.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when you look at the bigger games under Rodgers for Celtic the past couple of years, I know we don't like to talk about them, but this is absolutely worth stressing. In the bigger matches, he tends to only play 2 or 3 players that he actually signed. Dembele will start most games. Sinclair, who seems to have fallen away from that actually, recently was one, certainly in his first season. Now he's got in Cham. But when you look at all the other areas of the park, it's players that he didn't sign. He just improved them. Now, it's arguable that he came into a better squad under the one that Dyla had built than Gerrard has come into. I think that's probably arguable, but there was still talent there. We showed at times last season, and that was a frustration with this lot. There was certain games where you watched them and thought, there's something in these guys, and then you would see them 2 weeks later and go, get rid of every single one of them, they're fine. It was that lack of consistency. So if you can find that in certain players, and by them I mean like your James Tavernier, for example, I'm very glad he's staying, and I'm sure we'll come on to it as a discussion. The captaincy decision with him, there's a fair discussion in that in itself, but I'm very glad that it looks as though Tavernier's staying, because I think not only was he the best right back in the league anyway, I think there's still more to come from him. Players like Rossiter and Doherty and even Windass and certainly Morelos, there's potential there to get a lot more out of them, and they've got a bit of time. And then the guys that he's let go, Holt, nothing, all the best will in the world to Jason Holt, but we needed better than Jason Holt. And he played far too many games over the past 2 seasons, which in itself summed up our lack of progress.
I'd also, David, I'd also like to point out, right? So, Alex, despite being the most optimistic man on the planet, Rangers had reduced Alex to saying, get rid of them, every fucking single one of them. So
Rangers broke Alex last season. We've spent this this close season. Alex has been our Jordan Rossiter, right? We've had to intense work with the heart and hand, looking forward to the future physios to get Alex back to his normal level. It's a good job we got Stevie G in. That's all I'm saying. Someone so ruggedly handsome.
So the players that are retained, if you're listening, it's on you. Keep Alex positive.
Don't break our Alex. We don't want another summer like this. Good point about James Tavernier from the big man. Let's have a quick chat about him. So it looks as though he's going to be staying now, which I'm in favour of. I like James Tavernier. I think he's a good player. I was a little surprised, I'll be honest, that he retained the captaincy. There were games last season when I thought his leadership qualities absolutely stood out. The 0-0 draw at Parkhead, I thought he was fantastic. Not merely in his performance, which was excellent, but the way he drove the rest of the team on. And there were other matches, the 1-0 defeat at Kilmarnock springs to mind, where I thought it was awful, both performance and as a captain. But Steven Gerrard knows a thing or two about inspirational leaders, and he's came in, he's decided he's going to be the guy. Huge vote of confidence, Hoggy.
Yeah, I don't think you, nor I, nor I'm sure Alex, nor 99.9% of the Rangers support that aren't called Adam Thornton I'm sure we're all surprised that he's retained the captaincy. I certainly was. I think being a more kind of cynical, negative kind of chap, I looked to the performances last season where he was, I thought, poor from a leadership point of view. But I've had to remind myself in the past week, David, that I've been all for every decision Gerrard makes. Let's get behind it just now, because I think he deserves that in that honeymoon period. And just because I maybe don't particularly agree with this one, he clearly sees a captain in Tavernier, or he feels that with coaching, with help, he deserves that chance, given that he's staying at the club. Either way, I absolutely hope it works out, because if it works out, it's the old adage of it means it's better for Rangers. So I'm behind it, as long as if it's not working, we make a change quickly.
Alex?
There's a couple of things for me, for those who were critical of the decision, and I do understand the argument, and Hoggy is correct to say that all we can base this on is what you saw last season. So it then depends upon your judgment of that. Anybody that thinks that he wasn't a good captain last season, again, justifiable, will struggle to understand this. Two things for me. Firstly, you need more than one leader on the pitch anyway. If you have a team where there's only one player able to show leadership, then you're not going to get anywhere. That's just a fact. There needs to be more than one. You're never going to get the old 11 captains on the pitch thing, but you need to certainly have a number. And in the Bury match, what I noticed was that there was a lot of people taking responsibility for talking others through the game. So it's a little bit of a sign that we've got a little bit more of this going on. But that's, again, evidence of that will come. The second thing for me is, one of the things that people say quite a bit, he's never a Rangers captain. Now, my apologies to anyone who used that line if they find what I'm about to say offensive, but that is such a vague bullshit fucking line that I just don't get it. He's never a Rangers captain. In my lifetime, I've watched Terry Butcher, Richard Gough, Barry Ferguson, Lorenzo Amoruso as Rangers captains. All four of those people are completely different.
Yeah,
they all take different approaches on the pitch.
I'll play devil's dick advocate here, though. But one thing all four of them had was a certain inspirational quality to them that stood out, and that they had a certain authority about them, possibly due to size in some cases, but all of them had that sort of visible drive that sometimes James Tavernier doesn't, and very rarely did you see one of those 4 players hiding. Some play badly, but very rarely did you think that they weren't highly visible throughout the team, and that, I think, is perhaps what people identify when they use the phrase never a Rangers captain. They mean someone who anyone could look at and say that's the leader of this group of men.
Yeah, possibly. I think leaders in general in football are a dying breed, and I think a lot of managers say that now as well. Something that the academy system, as they put it, doesn't seem to produce as much of. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I'm going by, what I hear from others with that, really, and looking at it, a little bit of evidence. But is it fair to say, when I mentioned those names, that Barry Ferguson didn't come across as a Rangers captain when he got the armband and he grew into it?
Oh yeah,
I think that was true.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, I was really surprised when he got that role. Yes.
Yeah, so there's a potential. I know that Tavernier's a bit older than Ferguson was when he got that, etc. But he has the potential to grow into this. I think he's more vocal in the park than we realise, and in truth, I think he's probably got more respect and camaraderie in the dressing room than Lee Wallace had, who was a previous captain. Anyway, so yeah, he needs support regardless. He needs his centre halves to be doing plenty of talking. He needs Ross McCrory in front of the back four to be inspiring by rattling through challenges and being that sort of player that he is. He needs all of that Arfield's experience, etc. If he was going to do well anyway, even if he was the absolute best captain in the world and had none of that, he would have looked poor as a captain. And I don't know if it's fair to judge him on last season, given the absolute shit show that we had. And as a captain, when he's not, if he could scream in someone's face if he's not getting across, he looks to his manager for a little bit of support, and it was Graham Murray. It's a bit different with his Gerrard now. So
honestly, Alex, I think that's all of that is very, very fair. If you're looking across to the manager for a bit of help and he's chewing his fucking zip, then that's not great.
It's harsh but fair. But I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like, fuck, we're in trouble. I need to just dig this extra 10% out from somewhere. I'll look across to the gaffer for inspiration, and he's trying not to cry. Yes, I agree that.
And I think then if you're looking for help from your team, and you're looking at Fabio Cardoso and Russell Martin, then you're on to losers. So I think that's all valid, Alex, because you look at Alan McGregor, Connor Golson, even John Flanagan, Scott Arfield, I almost said Ross Jack, Ryan Jack, in the centre of the park. There's proper leaders. So hopefully what I'll say, Alex, is hopefully we're getting back to, I'll call it the old Rangers way of leaders right throughout the team. And when I say leaders, I mean guys with drive, guys with presence, and guys that can inspire others to that extra 10%.
Alex, would you agree that, if I can dust off a cliche, would you agree that this current Rangers squad looks to contain more people who you would like in the trenches with you than last season's?
Yes, it does. And I think that's just where I was going to go. I think that we make a lot of the captaincy. It seems to be a very British football thing. You always remember years ago under Le Guen, when he said, in France it's not that big a deal. And people kind of lost their minds over that comment, if you remember. We make quite a bit of it.
Yeah, but to be fair, look at the French. They don't have leaders, and but kind of
they're about to win the World Cup.
Yeah, no, but yeah, all right, all good at football. But if it wasn't for us and our leadership quirk, then currently they'd be about to win the World Cup as part of Greater Germania.
Yeah, a point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying?
But I do. But for me, it's almost like this almost links back to what you were talking about earlier with the coaching team. We've got this kind of slight cult of personality thing when it comes to the manager, and all the focus is on him. Yeah, it's a management team. All the focus seems to be on the captain, but it's a team game, and Tavernier's no way of being able to do this himself. And I think if you were the sort of player who needed your captain to drag you through games, then you're probably not the sort of player that's going to do well at Rangers. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
I know that people different in terms of motivation and how they motivate themselves. And yeah, it's fine if someone can get an extra 5 or 10% out of you by being on your back or putting an arm around your shoulder. That's natural. But if you need it, if you believe that the team needs an inspirational captain, then you're talking about a team that's weak.
It's abdicating responsibility. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
it's saying I'm not
it.
responsible for my own performance. It comes down to the manager or the captain. That yeah, you're right. It is. It's just basically saying it's an excuse. That's what you're looking for straight away.
Yeah, it is. And I already listen to guys like Arfield and Goldson. Now, as I say, evidence is still to come. Talk is cheap, all that sort of cliched nonsense. But just listening to these guys, you can hear a hunger and you can hear a bit of responsibility being taken already. They don't sound like the sort of people who, if they have a bad game, they'll blame anybody for it bar themselves. And that's what we needed more of. We needed people who were just willing to take that responsibility and not complain about a crowd getting on their back or anything like that. If they played poorly, you would go away and analyse why. And it looks as though we've got a lot more of that this season. Guys who are willing to do that, who are a bit. And then added to that, it looks as though we've got a bit more ability. But that, again, that's at the moment just based on very limited evidence, I guess.
I did like your line there about that we've got a slight cult of personality thing with the manager at the moment, and I thought slight as I looked at my Stevie G tattoo, my dogs Stephen, Stevie G and Gerard, and looked at the mask I make my wife wear for the bedroom unpleasantness. But Alex, yeah, that actually does take us in on Hoggy. For some reason you decided it was better off staying in Florida than flying home on Friday to take in the match. But Alex, having been at it, did you occasionally find yourself looking around at the dugout as I did, and certainly the people around me did, and go, fucking hell, it's Steven Gerrard, he's our manager?
Yes, the whole thing was almost surreal. Firstly, that's the first time in ages I've had to queue up to get into a game, and it's a fucking friendly.
Against Bury, let's be honest.
Friendly against Bury, and at the same time as Brazil are playing Belgium in the World Cup quarter-final, and we've got over 40,000 people sitting at Ibrox to watch us against Bury. And then you look down and there's Steven Gerrard in the dugout and a friendly, absolutely lambasting players for mistakes and demanding more and looking for the energy and the drive in a friendly against Bury a mere 6 days before our first competitive game, when you would have been excused for thinking, try and not get yourself injured or anything like that. No, he was demanding hard tackles, getting stuck in, etc. The whole thing felt surreal, and it felt like, as Hoggy said earlier, a team hitting the ground running. We haven't had a lot of games going into this first European game, but it doesn't look as though we've needed to. What we've needed is a real reset of attitude and professionalism more than anything else, and that seems to. I don't want to get carried away by a friendly, especially against a team of that quality, but we've seen this before where we play teams at this time of year. And like Charleston Battery, the Benburg Juniors would have been happy to beat. We struggle our way to a 2-1 win. Things like that. And then I look at that game, and even, let's just compare and contrast. We played TNS around about this time last year. We drew one each with them. We barely got a shot on goal. We played them this year, beat them 3-1, and even just from a 4.5 minute highlights of the game, that could have been 6 or 7. Very big difference. It's only friendlies, I get that, but it's a marker of progress right there. And the Bury game was extremely exciting, and it was difficult not to get caught up in the wave of it because it was 41,000 fans loving what they were watching at a friendly. It's just, honestly, people might take a piss out of me when I said this, but honestly, this is one of those things in decades. Someone will be reading a bit of something on, the Gerrard era, his very first batch at Ibrox, a friendly against Bury, 41,000 attendance, and they're going to turn to us and go, surely that wasn't right, that must be talking shite. It's just one of those really weird situations that it seems to just almost sums up the summer, doesn't it? Just the sheer excitement and surrealness of it all.
Alex, I think that's real key point there. The whole positivity around the place is just ramped up tenfold. That can you imagine this time last season, a Friday night against Bury, 41,000 is, even without international World Cup matches on, there would be nowhere near that in the first 2 weeks of the school holidays, effectively.
Yeah.
But here we are now, a Friday night game, school holidays, quarter-final of the World Cup on, yet over 40,000 attended, pretty much the same attendance as the Brazil-Belgium game. Personally, I was, as you know, in Florida, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or 2:15, the game kicked off when it's 40-odd degrees outside. I'm inside, don't have the Brazil game on, and I'm watching the game on Rangers TV. It's just that's the whole measure of the excitement and the positivity at the minute. It feels different. I hope it doesn't crash and burn, frankly, David, but it feels more professional. It feels as if we're ready to go into these games this week.
Yes, it does. The game itself, Rangers, and look, caveat time, Bury are not a very good team and they're 2 weeks behind us in their preparation, but all you can then do when that's the case is dominate the game and score lots of goals, which Rangers did. They couldn't really have done anything else. So even allowing for that caveat, it was still the type of performance you would want in that match. And took the lead to a goal from Jamie Murphy, followed up by a long-range shot from Nikola Katic that the keeper made an arse of to go 2-0 up. Scott Arfield with goals either side of half-time, getting into the box late to finish off really good moves. Make it 4-0. Alfredo Morelos got his head on a superb ball over by, I think it was young Middleton with that ball.
It was Windass.
Terrific ball in. And we then finished up with a six, which definitely was young Middleton, who played the ball over for Zach Rudden to get the first of what we hope is very many goals at Rangers. Great performance. Good to see so many young guys blooded, Alex. And one thing I noticed about the young guys that really made me quite happy is that they're all fucking huge. And I'm so used to players coming through at Ibrox that, I'm just using this example, or Barry Mackay sized, or Robbie Crawford sized, or even going a wee bit further back, Chris Burke sized. It was great to see Middleton's built. Zach Rudden's fucking massive in an athletic way. I don't mean, Mark Yardley. But I was like, yes, good, because so many times I see young, skillful players coming out of the Rangers team and think, well, you're going to get bullied, and then so often they get bullied.
They do, yeah. That was speaking to my boy at the game, because he signed a while ago, young Serge Atakei, and everybody's been kind of waiting on him getting a little chance in the first team, and you looked at him and you thought he maybe looked still just a little bit small for it. He's never going to be tall, but he maybe needs to fill out. Middleton was actually bullying people, fully grown adults, guys who are solid enough themselves, know how to play the game, know how to handle the physical thing. He was battering them off the ball, he was pressing them into mistakes, he looked every inch ready for first team football, in my opinion, whether or not that's with Rangers right now or if he goes out on a loan. But he was very, very impressive and exciting. Zach Rudden's got all the tools, and he's 18, I think? 18. So he's still got a bit of filling out to do. So, there's plenty of excitement there. You look at the back, Aidan Wilson, he's physically ready, no problem at all. Kyle Bradley's quite a young boy, he looked fine as well. So, yeah, there was a couple of them, Atakei and young Stephen Kelly who never got on. I don't know if you've seen him warming up. He looked about 12. But yeah, that used to be the norm, didn't it? For so many years now, we've been looking at our young players and thinking, wow, we are so far behind the rest of Europe genetically with this stuff. Everybody looked small and kind of frail almost. Even if they were tall, they were always Stephen Hughes or Robbie Crawford like, weren't they? Yeah. Tall and rangy rather than built. So it's good to see there's clearly been some work done there. There's clearly been a bit better identifying people who are going to be able to handle that, and there's some ability in them as well, which is probably the most important thing anyway. So exciting to see the young players come on and do so well. In general, I thought the performance was good from just about everybody. I don't think there was a failure on the pitch, really. And we looked drilled, we looked set, we looked to know what we were doing, and that's all pretty positive going forward. As you say, all the caveats aside, that's all we could do. There was nothing else we could have done on the day. We'd have came away there thinking, well, that was positive. If we'd won that game 2-0 and it had been turgid, the negativity would have been huge. So why not enjoy doing exactly what we should have done? Yeah. It's not very often we do that.
No, exactly, and it was fun. It was nice. You know, it was a sunny night at Ibrox. Everyone was in a good mood. It was enjoyable. And the kind of main things I suppose we can take from it, Hoggy, the system used was a 4-3-3. Interestingly, Daniel Candeias utilised the midfield. And I think part of that is that Rangers played a pressing game, and clearly the manager's spoken repeatedly about that. And as Alex said, could be seen in the second half, getting out and telling the players, don't stop pressing, continue, don't stop. I'm delighted by this development, and I can actually see why Candeias would be someone he figures he can convert into being able to do that, because his work rate's never in doubt. And I think that for years, whenever we've said we're going to do pressing, or whenever a manager said it, we seem to do it for about 20 minutes of a game and then they forget. Whereas I don't think that's going to be the case. I think this is just something that's going to be absolutely stamped throughout this side, that it's not all about what you do with the ball, that it's as important to this manager what you do when we don't have the ball.
Yeah, and when we don't have the ball, the pressing's clearly all about getting the ball back. Candeias was an odd one pre-match going into it, but I thought he did fine. I thought, Candeias strikes me as a guy that's going to be used as quite a versatile player this season. He's not going to be used out wide all the time. He played in a 3 on Friday night. As I say, he did fine. His pressing was good. His work rate's never rings out. And let's face it, he can have a wee bit of bite and a wee bit of snarl about him. I quite like that about him, even though sometimes he can go over the score with it. But I think the system was good. The press was great. The players all seemed to really buy into it, and they all seemed to know exactly what they were doing. And if they didn't, by Christ, Steven Gerrard was out there absolutely telling them. In a tracksuit, I should say, David, we might want to come on to that, tongue in cheek. But it was a good performance. As Alex says, you can only play against and beat who's in front of you. And game against Bury, you're absolutely expected to win, but we did the right things for us. Forget the opposition. We did the things that the manager obviously wanted them to do. We did the things that as supporters we would want them to do. We want to see them doing it, and they did it very, very well. I think the other thing I'll say on the personnel is it was great to see Robbie McCrory coming on to replace Alan McGregor. You guys both know that I'm a big fan of the kid, and I think he'll make it. And it must have been a very, very proud night for the McCrory's parents.
He's huge, and that's one thing that I think has been noticeable to me about Wes, is that he's not the biggest, well built and everything, but he's just not the biggest guy. Whereas, good God, it was noticeable. I forgot how big Shagger really is. And then, interesting thing, incidentally, at the game the other night, when a guy stood up and went, "Great to have you back, Shagger," as he ran to the Copeland, and his son, who was about 8, who clearly, obviously, hadn't seen much of Alan McGregor in his life, said, "Why do you call him Shagger?" And I thought, that's going to be a good one to answer back. But I reckon 8-year-old these days, I reckon the wee boy was taking the piss.
As long as the answer wasn't ask your mum.
Oh no, that would have been the standard. Or he should have sat down and went, right, when a mummy bear and a daddy bear love each other very much, he should have maybe just
or in McGregor's case, when a goalkeeper loves to put it about, allegedly.
Yeah. Oh, allegedly? I don't think there's much doubt about it. I think the Alan McGregor sausage has entered a few places around about the Glasgow area.
What was it Kevin Thompson said to us? Alan McGregor, he just loves shagging.
There you go. And hey, listen, we've all got hobbies, right? At the end of the day, it's down to him. But again, it's that sort of fondness for a player that we haven't seen for a number of years, and it was great to kind of welcome that back. Now, friendly out the window, because we now move to already our first competitive match this season, and it's a biggie. Because I think we all remember how we felt this time last year when Rangers produced one of the worst results in our history, an absolutely colossal fuck up against Progrès Niederkorn. Now we take on FK Shkupi of Macedonia. Tiny little club, Alex. not a lot known about them. There was an excellent preview pod on Patreon by James Forrest, who's our kind of European expert. Look, Rangers should beat this mob, and there's no two ways about it. Summer, all that shite, it doesn't matter. Rangers should beat this mob, and obviously we have the ghost of last year. We need to lay that one to rest.
Yeah, the ghost of last year is the only reason why anybody's going into this with trepidation, isn't it? Really, I mean, we've been here before, I guess, and you think back to the likes of Kaunas as well, for example. I'm pretty confident we're going to smash this mob, if I'm honest. I'm thinking 3-4 plus at Ibrox and killing the second leg and making that, almost another pre-season friendly. We look to be in the right mood. We've got a lot of positivity in and around the club, and I think that's slightly different from last season where players didn't look prepared. And see, if you're honest, the first leg was poor, the second leg last season was horrendous. We still should have actually went through.
Yeah.
The amount of sitters that we missed in that second leg, and that was with a team that, as I say, clearly wasn't anywhere near prepared in terms of fitness or the system they were being asked to play or anything. They weren't close to it. So I just feel as though this season, if it wasn't for that, we would all feel a hell of a lot better about this game coming up. And we should feel better about this game coming up. I've got a good feeling about this one. I think Thursday night will be enjoyable. It'll be different. There'll be a bit more nerves kicking about, and this team are clearly going to... I've seen little bits of them on they've got a YouTube channel and put up highlights of their games and stuff. They've got a little bit about them going forward and things like that, but that's at that level. I think that we should be pretty confident. I just want to very quickly come back to one thing that I found interesting when you mentioned Candace in midfield there, guys. I think what that shows is that Gerrard has characteristics in mind for positions rather than just, it's about the system rather than just try to fit it around the players. And what he's seen in Candace fits that role better than any other player that we've got. So he's willing to convert him into a central midfielder to do the things that he can do rather than try and drag it out of someone who maybe isn't, so good at that stuff. That's kind of interesting going forward because he has always said he's not going to ask people to be, he's not going to ask a striker to be the next Firmino when he's not that sort of striker. He was very vocal about that when he was an under-18s coach. I think that's what we're seeing, and it's things like that make me a bit more confident. This isn't a guy who's just shoehorning in players. We played Nico Crancher on the two legs against Progress, for example. Jordan Rossiter came in and started the away match. He hadn't played a game in donkeys before that. Things like that. He's not just throwing people in here. He's got a definite plan in mind for this game, and he is picking the best team he's got available to do that, rather than treating it like pre-season, which it felt like last year.
Yeah, it definitely did, and it's interesting you mentioned that. It's a kind of Moneyball principle, isn't it? It's like, I need someone who can do this, he can do this. So rather than playing him because he's a midfielder, in inverted commas, I'll play him and ask him to do these things which I know he's good at. So yeah, it is. It's again very modern, and this is a guy who's thought a lot about football, and I think that's very important to us going in. Before we go then, lads, Dave King has been in the news the last couple of weeks. First of all, possibly facing contempt of court charges due to his long-running battle with the Takeover panel. Hoggy, this one doesn't really affect Rangers, but it's not a good look.
No, it's the ongoing noise that there's. I think there's always two sides to Dave King, David. You've got the shrewd businessman side, which, let's face it, there's no doubt that he is, and then there's the Dave King, the fighter side, which kind of goes hand in hand with being a shrewd businessman. But sometimes I get the feeling that Dave King likes a battle because he likes a battle. You've only got to look at how many years did it take him to settle with the South African government. He enjoys a battle, no two ways about it. And the Takeover panel, I think, is it's on Dave King. It's not about Rangers, but it's not a good look. And I think it's all to do with he just doesn't really want to give in.
The other thing, Alex, as well as our old friend Sports Direct, are taking Rangers to court re-matching clause, which for those of you who are unaware, what this is in a business, if you've got a relationship with a partner, and it's quite, I'll give you an example. In, for example, UFC, if a guy fights for UFC and he gets an offer from another organisation, he may have a clause that UFC inserted saying we have the right to match that offer, and what that means is that if they offer the same amount of money, then they have the first option on signing him. So it's a pretty standard deal. The reason that it's gone to court is the Sports Direct say Rangers have failed to meet it. Rangers are claiming that they have met it. So the injunction doesn't mean that the court's decided, incidentally. It just means the court has said, right, until we can meet to get all the evidence, then nothing can happen. But it doesn't really affect Rangers that much because the strips weren't out for sale yet anyway. So that's going on, and then there is the battle with the SPFL, Alex, over its chairman Murdoch McLennan and his conflict of interest. Rangers claim because he sits on a board which contains Dermot Desmond and Dennis O'Brien, who are obviously major shareholders at Celtic, that it's a conflict of interest. The SPFL reject this. He's not letting that one go.
No, certainly not. And for those who listen to the free shows and aren't signed up to Patreon, what are you waiting for, by the way? They won't have heard us saying this quite often, but it's the Dave King who gives a fuck to it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. He seems to be going all out to make his point, to say what he wants to say, and to give everyone an absolute hard time because no one has responded to any attempts to try and build bridges or olive branches or anything like that. So now it's time, all eyes are on Rangers. Stephen Gerrard has raised the profile of Scottish football hugely. That's us that have done that yet again. So, yeah, it's time that we started to say the things that we probably should have been saying a while ago. We've now got a bit of a more captive audience for it. I think it is potentially one way of looking at it. There's no way that ABC, for example, are going to be quite as lax about their attitude towards us when Stephen Gerrard is there. There's no way that the SPFL can keep just trying to bury this one without starting to ask questions. It's been it's certainly an interesting change of tact given what we've had over the past few years and the frustrations that we've all expressed at how we've seemed to approach things. It's nice to see that Dave King is being Dave King, 100% Dave King as well.
And I think the key there, David, is both of these issues impact Rangers. So the first one, the takeover panel doesn't. It's Dave King's doing his fighting Dave King thing. Fine, let him go on with it. It's not a great look, but it's up to him. These two impact Rangers. Murdoch McLennan, go for it, take it all the way. And the Sports Direct thing, take it all the way. I think these are. We've been very, very critical on the pods of rolling over and having our tummy tickled, trying to build bridges with folk who hate us and don't want bridges being built. Paul Murray, likeable guy, but is gone. I think my personal opinion was he was chief bridge builder, and the latest trumped up SPFL charge was clearly the straw that broke the camel's back. And Dave King has gone to a place of fuck it, and it's about time, it's right, and I'm looking forward to the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a clear conflict of interest. You can't sit on a board with a company who, incidentally, are being investigated by the Irish government. I mean, this is not a company where everything is rosy. There's a lot going on there that will come out. It's a clear conflict of interest, and unfortunately, while an investigation's going on, you can't then sit in the position that he's in.
Can you, David, just quickly, can you imagine this was a Rangers supporter on a board alongside Dave King? Can you imagine for a second that the SPFL and other member clubs would just be quite as quiet as we're expected to be?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason. And also, I keep harping on about this. Now, if you are a reader of Private Eye, then you'll have read about Murdoch McLennan for years, and it's not a very flattering portrayal in Private Eye of him, so that may colour my opinion slightly. But SPFL chairman, why is it an ex-newspaper editor? What's the qualification? What skills does he bring to the table? in the 21st century. I can't see the relevancy to it. Am I being too harsh there?
No, you're not at all, because that's all we know about them. And this is where, if the SPFL want to fight this in any way, playing devil's advocate to this extent, if they want to come out and try and justify their decision, they're going to have to tell us a hell of a lot more as to why the guy's in the job. Because, right now, from what we know, everything that's out there, we have no reason to think at all that the Rangers campaign on this is in any way misguided. We're all relatively balanced, let's be honest. We'll have life with blue tinted glasses on, but we try now and again not to. If we thought that Rangers were fighting a bit of a daft battle here, we would say that. We don't, and I don't believe the SPFL have anything that could make us think that. They don't have any reason. If they tried to come out and justify his position due to his qualifications, we would be laughing at them.
Yeah.
Because clearly, if they had that, they would have done it by now. They would have had to have done it by now, and they haven't. The very fact that they haven't, and they just come out with the old vote of confidence lines, says quite a bit, really. I suspect this one will rumble on for a little while, and then things will quietly happen. Changes almost like the compliance officer, or he's resigning in about 9 months' time. Things like that. Changes will quietly happen. Whether that's enough for us or not will be interesting to see.
Absolutely. So until then, if everyone wants to just continue with Stevie G Fever, or Stevie Jeever, as one of my friends named it, then I think that we're all entitled to do so. So just a wee word, we've mentioned the Patreon site a few times. If you are unaware of what we're talking about, we're on a subscription service in which we put usually 4 but sometimes even 5 shows per day, all different on Rangers. There's a daily news update, there's shows on current events. Alec does breakdowns of the opposition before we play them. There are tactic shows based on our performances, but there's also look backs in history. There's also match watch alongs. You name it. There's comedy shows. There's film reviews. Have even gone out of football film reviews, obviously, the last couple of weeks. There's EPL shows. You name it, it's there, and it's done by Bears for Bears. It's only $1.99 per month. Patreon.com/heart and hand. Please come and check it out. I think that we've got over 3,000 subscribers already, and they're staying, so they must be happy with the service that they're getting. So please come along and have a listen and tell us what you think. We will be back next week on the flagship show. We won't be back with Heart and Hand Extra this week. It'll kick in once the league season starts. We'll be back with Heart and Hand Extra, the Thursday night show, once the league season starts. All that remains for me to do is to thank our executive producers in London, Mr. Mike Lee and Paul Myers, and to thank my 2 guests. First of all, the splendid Mr. Ian Hogg.
Thank you, David. Pleasure as always, and I hope we're back this time next week with an air of positivity, and it's not Niederkorn 2.
Oh God almighty, yes. And of course the wonderful Mr. Alex Staff.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Ian. Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much for listening, folks. We'll be back soon. Until then, take care. Cheers. Bye.